The right man in the wrong place.
They're either a benefit or a hazard.
Video games are very complex experiences. They involve paying attention to virtual objects, vehicles, and characters, all working together to offer both a challenge and a narrative. As a result, they provoke a wide range of emotions. Games can make us feel anxious and scared, but also relaxed. Games can turn boredom into excitement and sadness into happiness. They seem to be able to affect how we feel, but how reliable are they? Can we use games to control our mood? In 2012, Nick Bowman tried to answer this question with an experiment. First, he induced people into boredom or stress. Then, he asked them to play a warplane simulator. They all felt better afterwards, but Bowman also noticed that the effect changed depending on how much the game required the intervention of the player. Those who used the automatic pilot and just saw the plane flying experienced less increase in their affect than those who had to control the direction and speed with a flight stick and a throttle. This group also showed a bigger improvement than those who additionally had to use a keyboard and a mouse to control different functions like the landing gears and flaps, as well as air, wheel, and parachute brakes. The results suggest that interactivity can make people feel better, but when the task becomes too demanding, it starts having the opposite effect. So, if you need to feel better after receiving some bad news, chances are that watching a simple gameplay video won't be as effective as, let's say, playing the actual game. This, however, might not apply to reviews or let's play videos, where the in-depth analysis and humor increase the probability of the medium affecting your mood. We wouldn't recommend playing unusually complex games either. Titles like Dragon Ball Z, Budokai Tenkaichi, or Master of Orion can be rather confusing and frustrating, at least until you are familiar with the control scheme and interface. A recent study could help us understand why interactivity can make people feel better. In 2014, Diana Rieger and her colleagues exposed a group of people to a sad movie clip. Then, they asked them to either play Pac-Man, watch a video of the game, or just wait. Those who played the game showed less involvement towards the sad clip and a higher reduction under depressive mood than those who saw the gameplay video or took a break. This result is congruent with the idea that interactivity improves mood by distracting the user from negative content. It also suggests that if negative feelings, thoughts, or memories are making you feel sad, engaging in a task that requires constant attention, like playing a video game, could stop you from focusing too much on them. Interactivity has also been associated with arousal. In the same experiment, Rieger observed that participants who played Pac-Man felt more energetic than those who only watched the gameplay video. Electrodermal activity, however, which is a physiological indicator of arousal, wasn't affected. Also, studies on movies have shown that sad content is another effective way to promote arousal. Maybe an emotional interactive experience like the one provided by Final Fantasy IV or Shadow of the Colossus could be a good way to make an understimulated individual feel more excited. However, if someone is feeling both bored and depressed, the use of sad content might not be the best idea. In this case, games with no storyline like Bookworm or more action-oriented like Marvel vs. Capcom will be a better choice. Video games aren't always a reliable source of mood repair. A 2010 experiment, for example, found that playing titles like Call of Duty 2, Hitman Blood Money, and Madden 2007 was not an effective way to reduce hostility or sadness. And while Pac-Man has been shown to decrease depressive feelings and increase arousal, it wasn't that effective at promoting a happy mood. One possible explanation is that different aspects of the game are affecting the player's mood. Hitman and Call of Duty, for example, are known for their action-packed missions, but they also tend to include sad music and storylines that could have a negative effect on the player. Maybe Pac-Man is so challenging that it distracts the player from depressive thoughts, but the graphics aren't entertaining enough to increase positive affect. One of the lessons we can obtain from these studies is that providing different opportunities to interact with a game is a good way to keep the players happy and excited. Mega Man X, for example, achieved this by letting the players jump from walls as well as charge their weapon. In Tenchu, Stealth Assassins, the user could hide behind a wall to avoid detection, turning an otherwise passive element like the environment into an important tool. Actions doesn't even have to be important for the in-game objectives. In Grand Theft Auto 5, being able to switch between radio stations and even make rude gestures to other drivers prevents the user from becoming bored during long road trips. We shouldn't put too much pressure on the user's attention though. As we have seen, overwhelming controls can have a negative effect on mood. Nevertheless, we should also remember that this didn't prevent the first-person shooter, Arma 2, from gaining a considerable amount of followers. This reminds us of how important it is to know your target audience, what they want and what they are willing to overlook. Video games seem to be a good alternative for mood repair, but these effects are only temporal and do not substitute social support or professional counseling. Games are not a long-term solution, but at least they can help you take a break from angry thoughts, depressive feelings, or even traumatic events. They might not solve your problems, but they could give you the space you need to see things more clearly.